When you're working on ear training, it's important you never stay on a single lesson long enough for your ear to get dull. Now, I'm not talking about other ear training programs right now, but this is how you know when to move on from a lesson, when to quit that lesson. If you feel that your ear is starting to get a little bit dull, you need to move on. You need to go to the next lesson. And this is why I believe, and there's other programs that can do this, not just mine, but I believe you need a program that allows for that. You need a program that will constantly reinforce the same skills in different ways. And that's what my course and some other courses out there will do. And this is a core rule of my entire program. Ear training only works when you keep moving forward. If you stay on one lesson too long, what ends up happening is your ear stops adapting and you actually get worse. Different students need different approaches, and you have to use your judgment to decide what you need. But the forward motion rule applies to everyone. Let me give you one example. Chord versus interval. A lot of people say this is kind of like their kryptonite. It's a part where they fall apart, where they just can't hear chord versus interval. If you keep going through the course, that skill set keeps getting tested. We don't just let it fall. The original intent, it was always to do one lesson a day. Because I was teaching university, I met with my students Monday through Thursday, but I would meet with them almost every day, and we'd do ear training for 30 or 45 minutes. And the students that came to class, they saw results. The students that came every day, participated, were aware, weren't just on their phones, they're actually doing the drills. They couldn't help but get better. And that's when I realized that if I could create a program that was genuinely structured and map it out for an entire semester, I could produce really great results if students just showed up to class. And so that's what this program is. You're coming in every day. I don't know much about your individual levels unless you tell me, you leave a comment or something like that, or you email me, but it doesn't matter. I didn't know a lot about the talent and the ability of the students that came to my classes in the university, but every day they'd come in and I'd say, okay, this is something that everybody struggles with. This is something that only the advanced students struggle with. And I started to figure out what would work for larger cohorts of students. And I realized that if I could just create a program that did one lesson a day and it gradually increased in difficulty, and we would be repeating concepts every day to help actually build the scaffolding required to develop the ear, it worked. And so that was the goal behind this course, to create these lessons where you could eventually just go one lesson a day. This is how the course was designed. I was teaching Monday through Thursday. If they came in, I saw results, and that's what this course is based on. It's based on almost a decade of teaching that class multiple times per day, figuring out the right progression. And I tweaked it. I took notes, right? And just keep moving forward, okay? This builds the daily rewiring that you need without letting it stagnate. You don't want your ear to stagnate. You want daily practice, daily rewiring, but you don't want stagnation. It's very different from other courses, and this is the biggest thing that people have trouble wrapping their head around. But every ear training course I've ever taken has told me to get perfection. And every ear training course you've ever taken has helped your ear. You've seen results. You went to a college, you took a course, you used an app, and you started to hear things. So it does work. Repetition is the core of what we do to improve our ear, but it leads to stagnation if not done carefully. So we need to keep that in mind. So ear training is personal. Some students need more repetition. Some need less. And some need a push to stop repeating and move forward. I'm also going to say one more thing. It's more rare, but sometimes we have tried so hard with ear training that we've got all mixed up in our head and we need a reset. So if you're taking these lessons and you're just like, I can't hear anything, nothing at all. One, don't get frustrated, because that stress that you're putting on yourself is going to make it hard for you to learn. If you come into a lesson with the expectation that there's no way you can do this, and then with each answer you get wrong, it reinforces that idea that you can't do this, you're going to build upon the stress that's already there. You're never going to relax enough to be able to just listen and to just hear. So what we need to do in those cases is something called the mirror exercises and the daily routine. You really need to be able to look at the sheet music and follow along. But this is something that if it works for you, it will be really beneficial. And if you're struggling with the flawless course, take a break, do the daily routine mirror exercises and the interval meditations that I have, and do each one of the units. There's several sessions. Do each session until you're very comfortable with it, until you feel like you can sing with a high degree of accuracy, till you can match pitch. Now, if mirror exercises and that program is still too difficult for you, you need to do this. You need to go to a piano. Bum. Bend the pitch. Play that note. Bend around it. And if you don't get it at first, bend into it. You keep going until you feel that resonance. This will slowly develop your ability to repeat individual pitches. That's where you start if nothing works for you. And you just have to do this if this is the case. There was a famous composer who basically lost his ability to function in society. And what brought him back was he was going to the piano, playing one note at a time, and then two notes. And he was just listening to the sound. The sound brought him back. A relaxed approach, very unstressed approach, an approach that allows you to feel like you're actually accomplishing something that you couldn't the day before. All these things are important if you're struggling. And please reach out to me if you want any further suggestions for your personal situation. Just leave a note in the comments and I'll get back to you. Thank you.